If you like these videos, please check out my full course at www.lsat.totaltestprep.net with tons of clearly explained actual LSAT questions written by someone who's mastered test and helped others master it, and an evaluation period where you only pay if you want to continue. All right, so let's take a look at the evaluation relationship. So, what is the evaluation argument type? Okay, so looking at evaluation, the evaluation arguments deal with the value of something. So it's an argument that establishes the value of an object, of an event, or of a state. And so common variations might be that establishing that something has ethical value. So if we look at this argument, it says that Steve knew his friend would be upset if he didn't lie to him and say the dinner was delicious. Therefore, his lie was justified. So in this case, the arguments are dealing with something that's whether or not something's appropriate or inappropriate. Here we're saying that Steve's lie was justified. We're giving a ethical value in the sense that it was appropriate. In addition to that, you can also have arguments that establish that something has practical value. So, for example, an argument here we have it says that I bought super tough tires for my bike for the last several years, and they've never gotten a flat. So, super tough tires are a good purchase. And here, the arguments deal with what's useful or not, what has practical value. And in this case, the fact that these tires are a good purchase determines not that they are appropriate in some ethical sense, but they're appropriate in a practical sense. They're useful. And rarely you'd also have arguments that establish that something has aesthetic value. So, looking at this argument up above, it says that the painting by the new artist has gotten great reviews. It must be a beautiful painting. So, here the arguments deal with what's pleasing or not. So, it's value in the sense of whether it makes you feel good or not, as opposed to ethical or practical. These are not as common, but you will sometimes encounter these. Now, looking at these, you might have recognized that these look like characterization arguments because we're giving characterizations of the painting, of the tires, of actually Steve's lie, etc. So that's actually correct. These arguments can be thought of as a specific type of characterization, with the author establishing that something is good or bad. So it's essentially the characteristic is it good or bad? What is the value of something? And for these, you want to be on the lookout for a more emotional language. So whether something, how, the words that convey how something makes you feel. So is it beautiful? Is it, worth it, etc. You want to look for norms, so rules, principles, norms, that because those will generally be used in the arguments that deal with ethical value. You want to look for positive and negative consequences. These also involve both ethical and practical types of arguments. And in fact, these it's fairly common to have arguments that are based around positive and negative consequences, and then as a result of that, determine that something is has a particular value. And in fact, this evaluation relationship involves both constitutive and causal relationships. It's the fact that something has gotten great reviews that counts as that makes the painting count as a beautiful painting. It's not the reviews that cause the painting to be beautiful. It's the reviews which are a sort of constituent characteristic of what is considered a beautiful painting. However, as I was saying, you also have situations where something will cause some sort of consequence, and that is what makes it count as having a particular value. So, for example, with the argument that we use with the tires, it's or rather, it's their lack of an effect. In this case, their lack of a flat. The fact that they did not cause a flat is a positive consequences. So the tires cause a consequence, which is not having a flat. I apologize, not having a flat, and that means that they have a particular value because not having a flat makes them useful tires. So you will have that combination of arguments that say that something causes a particular positive or negative consequences, and as a result, it counts as good or bad. Okay, so to summarize quickly, the arguments that involve evaluations will establish that something has generally an ethical, a practical, or an aesthetic value, and these arguments involve both constitutive and causal relationships in the sense that they generally will have situations where something positive or negative, there are positive or negative consequences, that's the causal element, and it's the fact that they have or they produce this consequence that makes them count as being good or bad.